because we've been away. So welcome back to the show. I'm a little rusty, and apparently Brent doesn't have his shit together. I'm going to leave that in just so he can hear me talk crap.
There you go.
So welcome to the show. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Will Gunnell. I've been doing music for as long as I can remember. I probably wrote my first song when I was like 13, and it was horrible. But I probably got more into writing more serious maybe about 25, 30 years ago or so, and been kind of going hard and heavy with it ever since then. But you know, you got good days, you got bad days. But I primarily just write and record now. I don't really go out and play. I do have a little gig I do once a month at the senior dance, letting the old folks dance a little bit.
Nice.
But other than that, leading worship at church, and that's probably about the only live stuff I do right now. Mostly it's doing my own writing and recording for other people and that type of thing. So I'm actually sitting, I can see my studio from here. I'm on the back deck right now. So if you hear a frog chirp, I'm by the pool, or the cats anyway. But that's really about it. I mean, I'm not that exciting, to be honest with you.
Oh, I'm sure that's not true. So you started writing, did you say at 13?
I wrote what I called my first song when I was 13. So I was a big Kiss fan. So I had the music to one of their songs off of like maybe the second album or something, and decided I wanted to write some lyrics. And so I wrote these lyrics over that song, and I had it in my head, and I couldn't tell you what it was about, but I know it was bad. And after I figured out how to tune a guitar where all I had to do was like lay my fingers on it in an open tuning, you know, then me and a friend of mine from school, we would get upstairs, because I had a set of drums and this guitar that I got from my grandmother years ago. And we'd sit upstairs and just jam and make up junk. And older I got, maybe around 14, 15, a little older means I knew I wasn't old enough to drive, so it had to be younger than 16. Me and a school friend would get together, and he would write some riffs, and I'd play the drums and jam over it, and basically just instrumental type stuff. So, I mean, yeah, it was pretty early on that, you know, I knew that, you know, hey, if somebody else can write, I figured I could write too, you know. He always had the cool boom box. For some reason, his radio would just record. It would make it sound like $1 million, and I could record on mine and it would sound horrible. But something about his made it just sound like, dude, that's awesome. So that's what we would record our jams on, and we'd play the same songs every week, and you know, just have a good time with that. But really I didn't really get into singing until probably maybe 16 or so, and we were like, I think we played a party or something like that. It wasn't hitting on much. But
what drew you to music?
What drew me to it?
For you?
Well, I grew up in a household that there was always music around, even at like church. Of course, you got your hymns, and my brother was listening to stuff like Peter Frampton, Marshall Tucker, which is classic rock nowadays. My sister was big into Elvis. My parents were into country music. There would be like Conway Twitty, Tammy Wynette going on, George Jones and stuff. And so there was just a little bit of everything going on in the house, and I just figured that's the only thing I can really figure is that it just kind of blossomed from that, because it was always music around. We'd gather around the TV on Saturday nights at 7 o'clock and watch Hee Haw, and so, you know, so stuff like that. I remember, though, I even wrote a song about it where, well, not about that, but I mentioned it in the song, where I try to find the longest number 2 pencils I could find, and I had a coffee can with a lid on it, and I'd bang on that for a drum.
Yeah.
And to keep the time. And so and that was at a young age. But I think it was just having music around me all the time. It's the only thing I can figure. And my grandpa played a little bit of guitar and a little bit of harmonica, and so just kind of having that around, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I always had rhythm, so drums was the first instrument. That's kind of where it started, as far as I can tell.
So you mentioned a lot of different genres of music. Who would you say influenced you the most? What would you say was your biggest influences?
It kind of depends on where you are. And around, I remember going to Kmart with my mom and looking through all the records. And the one that really drew my attention was the Kiss Alive album. And every time we'd go in there, I'd go look at that album. I was like, I got to have this. Because it was just so cool looking, And she finally bought it for me. And I remember, I didn't know it. I had never heard a Kiss song, but I just knew they just looked cool. So bought that album, listening to it, and I was like, oh, look, there's two for the price of one. For some reason, I thought they were both the same record, but it was a double album. I didn't know any different. I was young. But so I would say that was probably, after I heard everything that was going on that album, I was like, yeah, this is probably it. So, for years, it was all, if it won't Kiss, it wasn't music to me. Then it branched out.
Kiss is so funny to me because we'll get artists on here and they either love Kiss or they hate them. Like there's no in between with Kiss. I always wondered why that was.
I really don't. I don't know. I guess there was just something cool about them, I guess, that kind of drew me to them and stayed with them for a long time. And then once the disco days hit, and I was like, what is this junk? And I kind of lost them for a long time. And then just before they got back together, I thought they put together the best album they ever did, which it was the one everybody hates. I can't even think of the name of it now. Carnival of Souls. I love that album. And then Gene says, let's get the band back together. And I was like, dude, you're an idiot. Don't do it. But anyway, so I don't know. I kind of came back for a little bit, but I go so far one way or the other. I was a big Prince fan for a while, AC/DC for a while. But, as far as like stuff I write and all of that, generally if I pick up a guitar, half the time it's either going to come out like hard rock or country, one of the two. To make a long, short question with a long answer, probably Kiss was the start of it, I suppose.
You said you started with the drums. How many instruments do you play now?
Drums is the main one. Guitar, bass. I will retune like the mandolin, the banjo, dobro, things like that. I will retune them to where I understand the chording. So they're not tuned the way they're supposed to be. I tune them to where I know what I'm doing. I don't play the piano very well. I'll hire somebody to do that. I got a friend that used to play with some guys in Nashville that I'll get to play the piano for me. So I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5-ish maybe.
What's your favorite instrument?
Oh, probably the drums. To me, it's the easiest one. Guitar, I feel like I'm good enough, I should say. I'm not fluent on anything, but I do enough to be able to get the point across. So even the demos that I make, I do them all, unless there's something that I farm out, like a steel guitar or fiddle or something like that. I do all of that. And like I say, I do just enough to be able to get the point across. If you were to sit into one of my sessions, especially with the guitar parts, if I was like playing a lead or something, there's a whole lot of punching in, doing a record and then backing up and punching in, backing in and punching in. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a nice flowing and fluent guitar solo, but it's really not. But
it's all pieced together.
It's pieced together. Drums, I'd say drums is probably my main instrument though.
You're doing everything like in the studio. How do you stay focused in that situation? How do you go, okay, I'm going to lay down all the drums, or I'm just going to do this song by song? Like, how do you do that? Generally,
what I do is start with a click, kind of establish the tempo that I want, and lay down a quick guitar track with the chord changes and all of that, and sometimes a little scratch track over that, just so I have a reference point. And then from there, I just start layering in things a little bit cleaner. Generally, with country songs, I'll have probably 2 or 3 acoustics, and then either the bass or the drums will kind of come in behind that, depending on just, the type of song that it is. As far as the focus, I don't know. I just kind of flow with it now. I don't really think about it. Vocals are usually the very last thing that I do, either that or like some little percussion type stuff, tambourine, shaker, or whatever. The hardest thing to transition between would be the guitar and the bass, just because the fretting is wider, it's a bigger, more of a stretch. But I don't know. I don't really have a big issue trying to transition from one to the other. I guess I just have it in my head and I know what I want to do. And sometimes the song will evolve. It takes on a different feel than what I had in my head to begin with. And sometimes I like it better and sometimes I don't. But it just basically starts usually with a click in the guitar and I just move on from there.
Let's talk about Bringing Back the Back Road. Tell us about that song.
Bringing Back the Back Road. That particular song, I have a guy that had recorded in the studio, and he decided he wanted to do a solo song, and he sent me an idea that he had. So I started kind of bouncing some ideas between him and I with that. So that was a co-write with a guy named Drew Dunn. I almost wish I'd have sent you the song that he was singing on, because he's got this great baritone voice. I mean, it's just, It was beautiful. But he sent me the idea for whatever he was calling it, something back road. I don't know. It wasn't Bringing Back the Back Road, but that's what it evolved into. But I more or less kind of took the reins on it. It kind of started flowing with all the different imagery, and the whole crux of it wasn't so much about the back road, but more about what happened on the back road.
Right.
And I'll be totally honest, I did not record the track on that one. That was kind of an experiment. I found that track on a site that I can't think of the name of the site, but anyway, it's the one that you can get beats for. In other words, like rap beats, country beats, rock beats, whatever. And I found it, and I was like, well, this fits the idea I had perfectly and all of that. In those, if you don't license the songs out, they have these little tags in them, vocal tags, to prevent you from using them. But I put it in my vocal remover and took that part out. So I didn't steal it. I just borrowed it, because as far as the chord changes, it was exactly what I had in my head. It was just I didn't record that particular track. So, yeah, I just borrowed it. I'm going to eventually re-record it, so that way it isn't I'm not accused of stealing the track. But that's the only one that I have ever done that with, and I just wanted to see if I could do it. But Bringing Back the Back Road, it's not about the back road. It's about bringing back the memories of what happened on the back road, how we fell in love, and the smells and the sounds and the songs that were playing and that type of thing.
Yeah, it has great description. Like you said, really good imagery. That is a catchy hook.
I appreciate it. The one thing I try to shoot for are catchy titles, hooks that you want to sing along to, anthem type songs, That was one I was kind of proud of. Like I said, I need to get in and re-record the music so I don't get accused of stealing the song, the track.
Milkshake, large fry, George Strait, blue clear sky, Ford truck, feel the wind, exactly how it was back then. And just like yesterday, those memories replay. Every hill, every bend, girl, I remember when we drove for miles going nowhere, honeysuckle in the night air, parked by the catfish pond, frogs and crickets singing love songs, the moon and stars overhead, you and me on a blanket in the truck bed, reminiscing everywhere it goes, bringing back the back road. Black streaks on a white fence, ran off the road when you gave me a kiss. Skid marks at the county line, I hit the brakes when you said you'd be mine. We see it all clear as day, it never goes away. Every red barn and green field is a moment we still feel. When we drove for miles going nowhere, honeysuckle in the night air, parked by the catfish pond, frogs and crickets singing love songs, moon and stars overhead, you and me on a blanket in the truck bed, reminiscing everywhere it goes, bringing back the back road. Bringing back the back road. Reflecting, reuniting, reliving as we're riding, reviving days gone by, right before our eyes. Drove for miles going nowhere, honeysuckle in the night air, parked by birds and crickets singing love songs. Moving stars overhead, you and me on a blanket in the truck bed, reminiscing everywhere it goes, bringing back the back road. Bringing back the back road.
From all the songs I listened to for the four you sent me, every single one, like you said, you like the catchy titles, the catchy hook, those are important. Do you think there's a secret to writing something like that? How do you go about that?
I think I just get lucky sometimes. I don't know. Over the years, I used to write songs and I thought they were great. And then you listen to them about 10, 15 years later and you're wondering, what in the world was I thinking?
Yes.
Because I'm like, what I thought was great turned out to be not so great. And that might very well happen 10 or 15 years from now when I listen back to some of these songs. I think for me, it's that you kind of learn that your chorus melody should be higher than your verse melody. I try to put as much furniture as possible in the lyrics to where you can visualize it. You can put yourself there. You can see what's going on. And not just I drove a truck, but I drove a Ford F-150 truck that was powder blue and had a little bit of rust on the side or whatever. You know, you just want to be able to picture those things. And to me, the biggest part of a song is, at least a country song anyway, is getting those lyrics to where you can see what's happening. You can put yourself there. You can smell it. You can taste it, if you will, if you were having a beer or a sweet tea or whatever. All those things matter because, I mean, you can sing about feelings all day long, but if you don't have the imagery there, the furniture in your songs, then you really don't have a whole lot going on. I find that I try to be more purposeful about it now, and rather than just writing a song in 30 minutes it's done, it'll take me weeks, months sometimes or even just put it away and come back to it months later, maybe a year later or something, and try to work on it from a fresh viewpoint. That's just me. I mean, I don't mean this arrogantly, but I feel like I'm a whole lot better than what I used to be. But I'll still listen to songs from people like Shane McAnally and Ross Copperman, you know, those big Nashville guys who were just raking it in. And I'm thinking, man, why didn't I think of that? I mean, gosh, that's good. You know, and I would be intimidated to death if I were to sit in a room with one of those guys, just because I feel like I might try to throw out a line and they'd be like, man, that was stupid. What are you thinking? But I don't know. So, I mean, I just say try to put as much furniture in there as you can and try to make it catchy. And that's the one thing I liked about Kiss was that a lot of their songs were anthems. You know, once you got to the chorus, you could sing along with it, even if it was just repeating the same line over and over. It was just an anthem. You didn't really have to think about it. Boom, there you were, and you were singing along in no time. That's my take on it.
I'm so sorry. Brent is texting me. Apparently, their internet's going to be down till 2:30 in the morning.
Ooh, I am not going to be up that late.
No, we're just going to keep going. He was really looking forward to this interview, though. I'm sorry.
That is not a problem. No worries. We'll catch him on the next one. Yeah.
Let's talk about Eyesore. Again, I wrote very catchy. Like, I'm going to say that 100 times because I'm just so impressed by your hooks and your choruses.
Oh,
that is something I struggle with. I know quite a few songwriters that struggle with that. Like, they'll have just banging verses, really great bridges, great like lead guitar, and they get stuck on a hook, which is why I kind of was wondering if there was a secret. I'm like, can we give them? Nope.
No secret. Like I said, I get lucky sometimes. The main thing I try to do is make that chorus as big as I possibly can, you know, to raise that melody up. I struggle with the verses. I hear a lot of people sometimes say, oh, the verse didn't grab me, but the chorus was big, you know. Yeah. So, but anyway, no, Eyesore, from where we live, if you get on Highway 29 and head south into North Carolina, there's a billboard on the side of the road that says, "We buy ugly houses."
Hey, we have those here too.
Yeah, there's none up here that I've ever found, but you know, we go down there not very often, but when we do go down there, the billboard sign is sitting there, and I just happened to pay attention to it one day, and I'm thinking that very first line is exactly what I was thinking. You know, if we buy ugly houses written on a billboard sign, if they buy ugly pickup trucks, they can have mine. And and that was that was the start of it. And then I got to thinking, well, what will make this truck ugly? And so, the Lost Love was pretty much it. He's got a truck that he loves, and he had a woman that he loves, but she's gone, and he can't stand the sight of the truck because he still sees pieces of her, and he still smells her in there, and he's just got to get rid.
I liked it. I could still see your feet on the dash, or something. Was it something like that?
Your feet on the dash and your prints on the glass. And honestly, it's funny because that song, after I got it done and I was like, yeah, this is pretty good, my wife says, I've heard a song like that on the radio the other day. And I'm like, what are you talking about? What? And I think it was called New Truck. Or I can't remember the guy's name, but the song was called New Truck, and it was a lot of the same type of things. He lost his girl, and he just wanted to get rid of this truck so he could get a new one. But yeah, I mean, the same type of thing. And I remember I sent this song to it's not like a competition, but it was where you could pitch it to a songwriter, and he would you could pick it up if he wanted to, but it was one of these where he would listen to it and critique it, and he only heard it one time. And he says, I like the song, he says, except for one thing. And he says, the CD isn't part of the truck. And
that's what he picked up on?
Yeah, he said, the CD isn't part of the truck. And I'm like, well, you know what? The hair is floating in the truck, and the earring, and their shoes.
Not part of the truck?
I said, oh, that's not part of the truck either, buddy. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't so much about the truck as it was just the memories and everything that was in the truck, So, yeah. But anyway, you can't please everybody.
We buy ugly houses written on a billboard sign. If they buy ugly pickup trucks, then they can have mine. 'Cause it's full of bad memories since you broke up with me, and that's all I see anymore. Yeah, the soul for's nothing but an eyesore. I see your feet on the dash and prints on the glass, scratch mix CD of Johnny Cash that you love to sing, and a lost earring in a pocket on the door. I can still feel you close to me where you're supposed to be. The smell of Chanel lingers in the upholstery. It runs like new, but reminders can't be ignored. All the soul for's nothing but an eyesore. I still see strands of your brown hair when the window's down, blowing in the air, and the glove box of travel makeup case to put on your face if we went someplace. An old pair of flats laying in the back. You didn't wear heels unless you wore that cotton dress in blue floor, but now it's just an eyesore. I see your feet on the dash and prints on the glass, scratch mix CD of Johnny Cash that you love to sing, and a lost earring in a pocket on the door. I can still feel you close to me where you're supposed to be. The smell of Chanel lingers in the upholstery. It runs like new, but reminders can't be ignored. And all the soul for's nothing but an eyesore. It could use some paint on and filter change, but the thoughts of you still remain. I hate to let you go, 'cause I love you both, but you didn't feel the same. I still see your feet on the dash, prints on the glass, scratched mix CD of Johnny Cash that you love to sing, and a lost earring in a pocket on the door. I can still feel you close to me where you're supposed to be. The smell of Chanel lingers in the upholstery. It runs like new, but reminders can't be ignored. And all the soul for is nothing more than an eyesore.
That one struck me. It felt like I would have heard it in like the late 90s. It just felt like a 90s country song. I don't know why that era of country, that time.
9 times out of 10, if I pick up a guitar, that's probably where it's going to wind up, just because that was, to me, that was one of the stronger eras of country music.
Oh, yeah.
And but that's when we lived in Nashville, it was in the mid 90s, something like that. And like I say, that's just where I gravitate. And every now and again, I'll get lucky and get a track that kind of has more of a modern sound to it. But I don't hate it, but I'm not a big fan of this pop country stuff. To me, it's got to have some elements of country in it. And if it sounds like pop or rap too much, but so yeah, if it has a 90s flair to it, that's wise, because that's to me, that was the era that country was the greatest. Okay. One of the great times.
Yeah, it sort of surprised me when you said one of your bigger influences was Kiss, because I was listening to your stuff and I thought, in my head was like early Tim McGraw, Garth Brooks, like I was like, and then you said Kiss, and I was like, wow, you never know what the answer is going to be. I always get surprised.
After I sent you guys some songs, I got to thinking, you know what, I probably could have sent you some rock songs too.
That would have been cool.
Yeah, well, maybe
next time.
Maybe the next time. There you go.
Next time.
Because I don't have as many rock songs, but me and a friend of mine got together and I had an idea for a song that I felt like was going to be more of a Cheap Trick type of thing, but it came out more like a heavy rock song, like a heavy Kiss type song. So yeah, my rock stuff. I say you wouldn't know it, but I'm a big metalhead too. I love metal music.
I love metal.
And so to me, the
grunge, again, back to the 90s, that whole grunge era where it was just like it had the metal influence, but it was so toned down and kind of gritty. I loved it.
Grunge had to grow on me a little bit, but I don't know, I guess just because of where I grew up in the 80s and 90s and stuff. I was used to kind of the hair bands but I also liked a lot of those underground bands, I'm almost ashamed to say, that were kind of on the satanic side. But so those bands that were like, people had never heard of before, but they're kind of popular now. And like I think I discovered, I found Metallica's Kill 'Em All in the import section back before people even knew who they were. And
Metallica.
Yeah, and then
their guitarist, he freaking blows me away.
Talking about Kirk?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like him?
Yeah.
I'm a more Mustaine guy. I like Megadeth.
See, this is where I need Brent, because Brent would have, because he would have agreed with you.
I've just always gravitated towards them more. I think it's, and I mean no disrespect to him, but Lars Ulrich just gets under my skin, and it's just. I think his music ideas are great, but his execution is horrible. But I mean, it's just his drumming, his timing is so bad. But in certain groups, those would be fighting words. They would be, but I mean, I'm saying this as a drummer myself. But I mean, that's just me. But I mean, one of my favorite albums from them was Master of Puppets. I thought he did a killer job on that album. But I mean, if you listen to some of that live stuff, and I'm like, gosh, if I had to play with this guy, I would pull my hair out. Who am I? He's the millionaire, and he's laughing all the way to the bank. He don't care what I think.
Right. Sometimes I think people just get lucky, and they know the right people. Knowing the right people makes a difference.
Oh yeah, well, you got to be connected, and I think that's a big thing about songwriting too. Is you've really got to know people that know people, and I'm working on getting connected to the people who are connected, but the only way you're really going to get your foot in the door is like you say, to know people, to find that one person that knows this person who is can get you in with that right song. But right now, I'm still an outsider.
What do you do for writer's block? Do you get writer's block?
Yeah, big time. Usually, I'll just put it away for a little bit. I do all my writing on my phone. I've got thousands of notes and titles and pieces of this and that. And generally, as long as I'm in a happy mood, usually everything kind of flows. But there's times when it just doesn't. And so if it's a song, I'll just put it away. and continue to look for inspiration somewhere else, or I'll just put it away and let the brain rest for a little bit. Because I don't think you're going to get anything better by trying to force it, Yeah. I just, pick up the guitar and pick a little bit, and sometimes that might help out. But most of the time, I'm just going to put it away and then come back to it later when I'm feeling better about it.
You said you really just play at church, and then there's what place that you play regularly? What's the name of that place again?
It's just basically a senior dance. I started playing that little gig when I was like 14, I think, 14 or 15. And I was playing drums. I didn't know any of the songs that these guys were playing. They were playing old songs, and I'm a 16-year-old. I'm just trying to keep up with them. But it's just a senior dance and I mean, when I say senior, I'm getting a little closer to that all the time. And it's just, they come out there and dance from like 7 to 9. They just have a good old time. And it's close to home. I can be there in like 15, 20 minutes and set up a kick and a snare and a couple of cymbals, and I'm good to go. Then come home and I can be in bed by 11 o'clock. I don't have to do the late night.
That's what I'm saying. See, yeah. My friends that play out here are always inviting me out to their shows, and I'm like, I know I need to network. I know how important that is. But then I'm like, okay, the show doesn't start till 9, right? You don't go on until 10:30.
Yeah.
I gotta stay through your playing, and I can drink, but I can't get drunk. Because I need to be professional, and that's good, because if I drink too much, I'm old now. I'm gonna fall asleep in that booth right there.
Yeah.
And then I'm not up until 1 a.m, and I feel like a dead person the next day. I don't know what happened to me.
If I'm flowing in the studio, I can stay up late, but
but that's different. I don't know why that's different, but that's different.
There's a little bit of adrenaline going, I think.
Yeah.
And, but as far as like, if I sit on the couch, I'm done.
Oh yeah.
But I used to do a gig. It was a house gig, and it would be from like 9 to 1 o'clock, and it was every Saturday night. This was back before they had outlawed smoking in the room, and so there was just a thick cloud of smoke in the room. And
especially at a bar.
We would have probably 200, 300, 400 people maybe every Saturday night. And the good thing about it was all the instruments just stayed there, so I could show up.
You didn't have to load up and bring it back.
Didn't have to load up anything. It was beautiful. Better. But I feel like I learned a lot about putting the music together just from those guys, because the steel guitar player, the fiddle, I mean, all they had to do was just look at each other, and they knew where to come in, where to play, where not to play, and it was just amazing to watch them. And so I felt like I learned a lot just from being a part of that. And but yeah, playing out gigs, I don't know, just right now it's just not my thing. I don't want to put the work in. I guess I got a little bit of a lazy bone when it comes to that.
Well, going out to gigs it's hard. You got to load, you got to unload, you got to promote. You've got to be present when you're not on stage, but you're just on. It's exhausting.
It is. Yeah, I remember me and one of the guys, we played like, I don't know, maybe an hour away or something like that at some coffee house thing, back when coffee houses was the thing.
Now they're all drive through. It's weird.
Yeah, it's crazy. But so we were sitting here playing this little gig, and I just remember sitting there playing the music, and I think he was singing and I was playing guitar and he was playing guitar, but you could hear people talking, and I was just like, really? I said, is this where we're at? We're just background music?
Yes.
I mean, we got paid for it. But it was just like, if I sing, I want people to be listening, at least act like it anyway.
I have several friends that play at restaurants, and they like it because a lot of people come up to them like on their little breaks. They can talk to the people that are at the restaurant or who are coming and going, but there's like this constant chatter, they say, when they're playing. Mm-hmm. And it feels like people aren't paying attention, and you hear like knives hitting plates, and they're like, I don't want to not take the gig. Mm-hmm. I'm getting paid, but it's like, are they paying attention?
Yeah. Yeah, I think in a restaurant it would be a little different, because you're kind of expecting people to have a conversation. But why they play music in the restaurants is to cover up so you don't hear people chewing. That's why the music plays. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm
that's
playing music. Gross. Yeah, so I'm sitting here playing music so people don't hear themselves chewing.
That's it.
And but I don't know. It might be a little different situation there, where you kind of expect people to be talking. But in that situation with the coffee house, they were kind of sitting in the whatever, it was like a couch, some couches there, chairs or whatever, and they were kind of sitting around us, but they were just carrying on their own little conversations, and we're just like, hello, we're over here, I don't know.
Hi, we're the band.
Yeah, that just kind of got under my skin a little bit, but probably one of the coolest thing was when we played gig at the fairgrounds, and there were several churches there, and we had a friend of mine helping us out on keyboards. The other guy was singing, and the keyboard player, he said, come, he was kind of nudging. He said, come over here a second. He said, you hear that? I was like, what is that? He said, people are singing these songs back, man. He said, they're singing them back to you. And I was like, really? And I got to listen. I was like, dude, they are. He says, that's the sign of a great song.
Yeah.
And so that after I got to listen to that, I was like, man, that is pretty doggone cool. You could just watch the people, and you could hear them singing back to you, almost like a choir. And I was like, okay. So when you was talking about the hooks, I think that's like, I kind of keep.
They're so important, and you're so damn good at it. I'm a little jealous.
I appreciate it. I don't know. I think I get lucky.
That's where I get stuck.
Yeah, you don't want it to be too busy, but you want it to be something that somebody can sing along with.
And that they can relate to, not like you were talking about earlier, like the imagery, like that. There's a balance to all those things, and not everybody can do that. I think Brent does it pretty well, too. I can't do it.
And, he and I, that's how we hooked up, was with the song that he had sent me with that Lock, Stock, and Cuervo. Has he ever played that for you?
I'm sure I've heard it. His music, it just makes me happy. Brent's a really good songwriter, and I interviewed him here.
Cool. He interviewed himself?
Yeah. Well, no, he was my first interview. He wasn't a host on the show till about a year in, and then I just started getting annoying because he would give me feedback, and I was like, oh man, I like this feedback. And then we would talk, and I was like, oh my God, like we're similar, but we're not so the same.
Right.
That there was the back and forth. I was just like, he brings great stuff to the show, but I don't think people really realize, aside from that first couple interviews we did, that he's an excellent songwriter.
Yeah, because he's my best friend. He's my pal. He's my homeboy, my rotten soldier. He's my sweet cheese, my good time boy.
I heard one of the albums that he did. I heard it on Spotify, and I was like, I told him, I said, dude, this is kind of reminiscent of Cheap Trick. I'm digging it.
Oh, for sure.
And yeah, I was digging it. But yeah, he sent me that song with the Lock, Stock, and Cuervo, and I was like, where in the world is he coming up with this? But
his brain is.
Yeah, and I was like, well, all right, that just didn't flow with me at first, but then I got to thinking, well, Cuervo is Mexican, and so maybe this could be more of like a Mexican kind of feeling song with some Mexican lingo and that type of thing. And so I started twisting it all over the place, and he seemed like he kind of liked it. So, but I haven't heard anything about it since or whatever, so I really don't know what he's done with the song. He might have threw it in the trash for all I know.
Oh, I doubt it. Now I'm going to have to annoy him about it. Let's talk about Shine.
Shine. That was a co-write that just out of the blue, guy messaged me. His name's Ron Hirsch, and he was asking me about some co-writes and things like that. And I didn't know him from anybody. And I said, well, send me some 2 or 3 ideas that you got, and we'll kind of go from there. He had that one that he called Shine. He had in that particular song, I can't even remember what his lyrics were, but he had some references to like the carnival or the fair or some rides or something in there. He was saying how she lit up, how she shined. And but I said, dude, I think you're missing the cool opportunity for some great imagery in here with the carnival rides, with the lights in the carnivals, with the moon, and all these things. I mean, you go to a fair and it's lit up. Everything is lit up. And so I said, I mean, I think you're missing a great opportunity to have some cool imagery in this song. And so we started writing on it and bouncing back and forth some ideas and things of that nature. We finally settled on what you hear now. I'll tell you this too, because this is funny. But anyway, it's doing pretty good right now. We've sent it out to radio, and it's doing pretty good.
It's a good track.
Yeah, appreciate it. I said, well, you know what? Australia has a pretty good country scene going on down there, so I started hitting up some country stations down that way. And I use Online Radio Box. I don't know if you've ever heard of that or not, but it's basically a place that you can go and find radio stations around the world, any genre that you want. And usually there's an email or some sort of contact information down there. And I kind of break the rules and just cold email all these guys. And I'll put together a little blurb and I'll just tag the song in there as an MP3. And sometimes they'll play them, sometimes they won't. So I sent it to one of these stations in Australia, and the little blurb that I put in there was like, summer hasn't gotten here yet, but it's getting hot, and here's the perfect summer song for you. It's called Shine, blah, blah, blah. And one of the stations emailed me back. He said, man, I appreciate you sending me this song, but by the way, it's winter down here. I was like,
I never would have thought of that.
And I was like, you know what? You're exactly right.
You're right. Shoot.
So I was like, man, that's funny. And then the other thing was, it was like 9:00 at night, and it was actually, I think it was on Monday night. And so by the time I got it, it was already like 11 o'clock Tuesday morning down there.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I was like, wow. I didn't
think about that.
Yeah. So they're in a different, obviously a different time zone, but in a different season as well. So yeah. But Shine is, back to that is just about first love, and everybody can relate to our carnival. And I tried to just load that thing up again and put as much furniture and imagery in there as I could, and try to just describe it as much as possible, and not just say the moon, but well, actually, I did say just the moon. But anyway, different things, and you want to put descriptors in there, to not just put a piece of furniture in there, but you want to describe that piece of furniture. And
summer sky, counted fair late July, played all the games, rode every ride, meandered in the midway lights, on the Ferris wheel a dozen times, gazing in each other's eyes, holding hands, fingers intertwined, till closing time that night. You're my sparkling star, without you my whole world is dark. You brighten every corner of this heart of mine. It's in your eyes, in your smile, you make living life worthwhile. You're the fire that makes me feel alive. Oh, how you shine. Shared funnel cake and lemonade sips, powdered sugar on our lips. It tasted sweeter with a kiss. We wanted to remember this. Photo booth and flashbulb light captured us in black and white. In that moment all the world was right. I asked you to be mine. You're my sparkling star, without you my whole world is dark. You brighten every corner of this heart of mine. It's in your eyes, in your smile, you make living life worthwhile. You're the fire that makes me feel alive. Oh, how you shine. Oh, how you shine. Watching fireworks from the tailgate while the colors glow, and one more long-lasting kiss before I drove you home. You're my sparkling star, without you my whole world is dark. You brighten every corner of this heart of mine. It's in your eyes, in your smile, you make living life worthwhile. You're the fire that makes me feel alive. Oh, how you shine. Oh, how you shine. Oh, how you shine. Oh, how you shine.
What can we expect from you?
oh gosh.
I know that's the hard question, because you're like, I don't know yet.
Well, yeah, I know that I'm going to work tomorrow. That's about it.
That's right. Me too.
I've got so many ideas and things. I've got demos that I need to do for people that I feel bad about because I just haven't got to them yet. But there was one that I co-wrote with a lady and somebody else. I don't know who that guy was, but they sent me a song and I started twisting that one around, and then it turned into a song called "Ghosting Me." And
ooh, nice title.
I liked it. Believe it or not, there's several songs out there with that, but there's no country song with that.
No.
So that's another thing. That's another thing that I do is if I feel like I have a unique title, the first thing I'm going to do is go to Apple or Spotify or internet and try to see if that title's out there. And if it is, I try to avoid it or rewrite it. But I've got a song. You guys interviewed Michael Sweet. Gosh, if I could get this song to him, that would be awesome. But a song that I've probably been sitting on for 2 years now.
That was crazy, by the way. That was.
Is that right? and so talking about my country songs, but this is as much a heavy Striper-esque Christian rock song as it could be. And if I can get it recorded the way I hear it in my head, I'm going to get that out. So it's not all country. I got, the rock songs I want to do. I've got a couple of songs I've been sitting on that I feel like we were trying to pitch them, but nobody's picked up yet. And so I'm probably just going to go ahead and release them myself and see if we can't get a few pennies earned on those. Gosh, the ideas.
Have you been able to make a living off of this for yourself?
No.
Okay.
But
I'm not going to say nobody we've interviewed, but because Michael Sweet and Art of Everclear, like those, obviously most people it's, can I get a little extra money and my art out there?
That's what it boils down to. I've been very fortunate to have maybe I kind of went through and was seeing where all the stuff was being streamed and tried to add it all up. Collectively, maybe about 600,000 roughly streams that I could find.
That's pretty damn good.
Not bad, but then when you consider, like Spotify's paying like 0.003.
Yeah, I know.
But then you've also got some that are paying even less than that. But poor Spotify, that's what they get picked on the most. But, YouTube pays less than that. And then you got some that spin it for free. But so I've been able to make enough to where I'll get a tax form at the end of the year. So, it hasn't been anything that I can retire on for sure. But, I do see I get a royalty check every quarter from BMI, and every month from Song Trader, I'll get a little notice that, hey, you've got a deposit, and I'll look and it might be about $4 or $5, and sometimes it'll be a little bit more. I'm thinking the next one, probably the next couple of months, probably going to be a little bit bigger. It seems like my listener base on Spotify has increased. I don't know if that's just something that's happened or if that's, but as far as like being able to make a living, no. But between, getting songs out there and hopefully getting some plays and making some demos for people and my day job, I'm not starving, so I'm doing okay.
That's good. That's good. Could you ever actually see yourself doing anything else, though, at this point?
Anything else?
Besides music?
Besides music? Not,
if you didn't have that, what would you be doing?
Well, considering we've had this pool for a couple of years, I'd probably make a pretty good pool boy. I'm learning the ins and outs.
Not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, well, I'm learning. Not really. I mean, music has just been so ingrained in me, and I have actually quit maybe 2 or 3 times just out of frustration, and then turn right around and come right back to it. So it's one of those things that it seems like every time I say I'm going to quit, something happens that makes me want to come back to it. I don't know. It's just something that's always been in me, and I feel like until I just can't play anymore or lose my voice or whatever, that I'm probably just going to be doing it from now on, But it gets frustrating at times, especially when you're trying to knock on doors, because it's not as open as it used to be. When I was living in Nashville, you could walk into any publishing house and hand them a tape and they'd listen right there or say no thanks but no thanks. But now everything is so in-house and they hire people to write songs, and you're lucky to get somebody to answer the phone half the time. But so it's
gatekeepers have got.
Oh gosh, ridiculous. Yeah, it's crazy.
Where can people find you and your music?
They can find any of my stuff on any of the streaming platforms at Will Gunnell. when you pull up my Spotify page, probably you're going to see the rock stuff there. I think some of the country songs are there, but put out a rock album just to get that stuff out there. But it's on Spotify under Will Gunnell. I've got a Facebook page, it's Will Gunnell Music. I got some stuff that's on Reverb Nation under Will Gunnell Country that isn't anywhere else, like exclusive type stuff. A couple of YouTube pages accidentally that are out there that has all the same stuff. That's pretty much about it. I mean, if you just look up Will Gunnell, you'll find me out there somewhere. There's also a football player that's Will Gunnell, but that's not me.
Yeah, I discovered that.
That's not me.
I discovered that.
Hey, thank you for joining the Sound Pollution Podcast. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share. Remember, sharing is caring. And it can also be like if it's someone you don't like, if you share with them, it could be because you don't like them too. So just share it. Just, get through it. Just click the share button as soon as you see it. Let's just get it over with, because then it's less stress during the day and it just makes your life easier. So if you could share, that would be fantastic. I hope you enjoyed the interview. I hope y'all are having a great week. Remember to make some noise.